Well, good evening, Council. At least those of you who are here so far. We're missing Councillor Fitzgerald. He's on, but not on screen. There he is. Good evening, Councillor. And we're missing Councillor Withy, but we're after 5:30, so I think we're going to get started. The meeting is being held electronically in accordance with Section 238 of the Municipal Act, and I can confirm that we do have quorum. And there's Councillor Withy, so we have full quorum. Are there, hang on, I'll do an adoption of the agenda moved by Councillor Stone and seconded by Councillor Schumacher. Be it resolved that the regular council meeting agenda dated Monday, November 23rd, 2020 be adopted as printed and circulated. All in favor? And that carries. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Yes, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a couple. In today's agenda, item 12.2.1 in closed session. I work for the same company as our realtor of record for the town of Huntsville. And I have one in hindsight too, so I apologize to council for this. Item 6.1.3 from the Committee of Adjustment meeting from October 14th and passed at council on October 26th, and that had to do with as I said, at 6.1.3, the applicant in that case is a client of mine. So I just wanted to make that, make the record. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And Deputy Mayor Alcock.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do, with regard to item 8.2.2, bylaw 2020-96, for personal reasons, the applicant will be making a payment to the condo association that I'm a member of.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. That's it. Okay, just before we get into our invited presentation, I just wanted to update council on a couple of good news stories. The first is, and I know it won't be news to most of you, but just in case the viewing public hasn't heard, we did receive the announcement on Friday for the additional Fairburn beds. So now the Fairburn build will go ahead at 160 beds. So that's great for our community. Lots of players involved in that. Lots of work was done to get to there. So I know as a community, we're very happy that that has happened. And the other good news story is, and I'm not sure if all council's aware of this, but we're getting a great big Christmas tree to try to brighten up our COVID this year. And the Empire Lot owners, Janice Kay and Linda Roberts, have agreed to allow us to put up a great big tree on the corner there in the lot. And we've had some real community spirit here. We've had the Rotary Club led by Peter Redwood, who's really helped to spearhead this. We've had donations from Pickering Construction in Bell Canada, Lakeland Power, the Rotary, the BIA. I think Canadian Tire is getting us the lights for it. And of course, Director Hernan and his very able town crew are going to get that tree and get it delivered tomorrow, and it's going up this week. So hopefully that'll add a little bit of cheer to the downtown corner at Center and Main this year. So with that, we're going to go to invited presentations, and I'm going to ask Deputy Mayor Alcock if she would like to introduce our first guest tonight.
Thank you, Your Worship. Indeed, I won't belabor this, but I was contacted about a month ago now by Ryland Davis, and regarding what Ryland will talk to us about tonight. And it was just such a cool proposal and neat coming from a member of our youth. And it is regarding the sale of Town of Huntsville masks. I just want to say that the initiative that Ryland took, not only to contact me, but also Deputy Mayor Maloney, Rick Maloney from the town of Bracebridge as well. And so the town of Bracebridge, probably Ryland will fill us in on this, but I think they're also going forward with a similar initiative down there. And so I just was thrilled when Ryland agreed to come and speak to council. So from me, over to you, Ryland.
Ryland, if you just unmute yourself and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Terziano and Deputy Mayor Alcock. Thank you for having me here to speak about the masks for mental health, if I may call it that, because that is what this is about. I saw about 2 months ago, I guess, when the Deputy Premier came to town, and the mayor and the deputy premier had town of Huntsville masks on, and I was a little jealous. I was like, I wanted one of those. So I talked to my friend Caitlin from Bracebridge, and we were talking about it, and she's like, well, why don't you see if Bracebridge is going to do something like this, and maybe it could be a charitable cause. So I talked to the deputy mayor of Bracebridge, as Deputy Mayor Alcock said, and I thought, what charitable cause do I really take an interest in? And to me, it's youth mental health, because I know from my personal experience that COVID has taken a really toll on my own mental health. I am fortunate to have a great group of friends and teachers that are there to support me, but I know that this isn't the case for all teenagers and youth, whether it be you go to school in Bracebridge, but you live in Huntsville like I do, or be it you go to HHS. That is why I feel that some of the profits, if the town of Huntsville chooses to sell their masks, should be donated to a youth mental health organization, because I think it's important that the youth of our town know that the town knows that they're there, and we haven't that the town hasn't forgotten them. COVID hasn't made them disappear, because yes, COVID may have came, but mental health doesn't take a holiday just because we're dealing with a global pandemic. And I feel that this would be a good way to show our support, or the town support, to youth that are struggling with mental health, because I think it's important to know that it is a struggle within our own community. This isn't just something that happens in the city, in big cities. This is an issue that we are facing here in Huntsville, and that also you don't need to go to the city to get mental health support. We have the supports, we have the organizations here in Huntsville. We just need to bring awareness to it. That's why I feel that a profit from the bit of the profit from selling the masks could go to that. And also, to speak to the Deputy Mayor Alcock's point about Bracebridge, Deputy Mayor Maloney has said that they are looking into it and he likes the idea. They have a bit more to work out before they can go ahead. So I thank Deputy Mayor Alcock for her work on this. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Ryland, and really good on you to take the initiative and do this. I'll tell you, we're one step ahead of Bracebridge, because thanks to our staff, they'd already had a little bit of interest in our masks, so they've already actually gone out and ordered some masks, Town of Huntsville masks, for sale. And I think that we have a resolution coming up later in the agenda, where we are indeed going to vote on directing some money from the sale of those masks to mental health. And I think our clerk has your contact information, and maybe they will be able to reach out to you, and you can work with our CAO or somebody on staff just to determine exactly what organization you'd like to see. I thought it was interesting that you said you'd like to see it go to youth. And so we can come up with what the organization is. But I think there'll be a resolution later in the meeting that you'll be pleased with. And I will ask council now, though, if they have any specific questions before we let you leave us. Yes, Councillor Withy.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Ryland. This is an excellent presentation, excellent idea. The mayor sort of hinted towards my question. I was wondering if you had a specific charity in mind.
I don't have a specific charity in mind. I was thinking a youth one. I didn't have a particular one in mind, because I'm one of the, I didn't really know that we had supports in our town. So that kind of speaks to why I feel that there should be some profits going to it.
Thank you. That's excellent. I didn't want to put you on the spot. Just curious. I'm sure we'll find if the vote passes, which I'm kind of guessing it's a fait accompli. But we'll figure that out. Hopefully with your input. Thank you.
Thank you,
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. And just a very quick follow-up. As I understand it, the last time I spoke to Deputy Mayor Maloney, I think they were looking at touching base with the Muskoka Victim Services. But, you know, they were still looking at where they might spend their funds. So, but I actually love the suggestion by Ryland. So you know, we should follow that path, in my opinion. Yes.
Deputy Mayor Maloney said that Mind Aid was it was more directed for youth and stuff, that it was just recent in that's new, fairly new in our community. So maybe that could be an idea. They aren't necessarily a mental health organization. They're kind of like the map to direct you where you need to go.
Yep. Yep. That would be excellent, actually. Just saying.
We'll definitely get those details worked out.
Okay.
Okay, seeing no further questions, Ryland, thanks for attending tonight, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, moving on to deputations. We have with us tonight for the winter COVID-19 recovery product development, Jesse Hamilton, who is the chair or president of the Huntsville Municipal Accommodation Tax Association and also the GM of Deerhurst, and the executive director from the Chamber of Commerce, Kelly Haywood, with us to talk to us about winter lighting. Are you guys, Crystal's probably got to let you in. There you are. Great. Well, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Kelly's about to put up the presentation for us, I believe. There we go. Thank you. I'll jump right in. I know time is always precious in these things. So first of all, thank you, Your Worship and Town Council, for your time this evening. As you may or may not know, I'm easily excitable when it comes to tourism, hospitality, and also anything to do with the Accommodation Tax Association. This is no different, but this would be the thing, of all the things that we've had a chance to work on collaboratively, this one excites me more than anything else. So I'm very happy to be chatting with you about it today. I do want to jump in though and mention one thing that I think we need to address is we're not sure how things are changing, obviously, in the next 30, 60, 90 days. And one of the things I want to mention about this program is we've got our heart set on it launching in February. But if for some reason things aren't improving by then, I think it's important to note that this program can easily move. If it needs to move by 30 days, by 60 days, it can do that and still have as great an impact later on in the year as it does in February. And, I know I speak on behalf of everybody on the Municipal Accommodation Tax Board that, it would be, we would hate to see COVID get in the way of yet another thing that can bring some joy to everybody, our guests who are visiting the town, and all of our local residents as well. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind as we move forward. This is a collaborative effort that we're here to chat with you about today. The Tax Association, Town Huntsville, Chamber of Commerce, Downtown BIA, and the Huntsville Festival of the Arts. So bringing all of these organizations together to deliver an experience that is going to drive visitors to our town, and do things for any of the business owners in the town of Huntsville to help them through this period. And also, this isn't just a one-time event either. And I'll share a little bit more with you about that in a moment. This came to be through discussions on how we can help businesses that are impacted by COVID. And, we start by speaking about specific businesses in tourism, but then every business in the town of Huntsville, I think you could find a way to say that it impacts tourism or tourism impacts it one way or the other. There are still serious risks facing businesses in our town. There's no question about that. The loss of sort of traditional winter and spring business, it's completely disappeared. Sport tourism, conventions, conferences, associations, those things are gone. And we're seeing them start to fall off the map even in May and June right now. Reduced operating capacities, reduced revenues, increased costs. These things are all impacting, as well as international travel. These things are all impacting the livelihood, not only of tourism businesses, but I think all of the businesses in the town of Huntsville. That's where this came from. How can we drive those visits and have a positive economic impact in the town while COVID is still surrounding us? The other issue is things are already going to be at capacity for the winter, even into the spring. Not only that, there will be less things perhaps to do, and we need to create capacity for things for people to come here, experience, drive visits, as I've said. The other thing too, this gives an experience to all of those people, myself included, who live in our area. So it's sort of a two-pronged opportunity for us to attack sort of COVID sort of from both sides, so to speak. Thanks, Kelly. We had put together a study, and what that study has told us, and this really links very clearly into that, is people are going to travel in Ontario this winter and spring. That's how their intentions have changed. We know that, and we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of that. The other thing, which we haven't mentioned in this slide, which I know you would have seen in the study, is Huntsville does not rank wonderfully in the province of Ontario, and even against other locations in Muskoka when people are thinking about winter travel. This is also about changing that perception as well. So here's what we're talking about. We want to take local attractions, very specifically Heritage Place as well as downtown Rivermill Park, and light these up with thousands of lights, unique interactive sort of sound experiences, winter fun activities, all in these outdoor settings that we know people think about when they think about a visit to Huntsville and a visit to Muskoka. There would be an interactive light trail. Both downtown Huntsville and Rivermill Park will have lighting installation and activities, and then other outdoor winter activities to accent that as well. So this interactive light trail, we are hoping from February 5th to May 9th, we can take Muskoka Heritage Place, turn it into this winter wonderland with these unique lighting installations that I've talked about throughout that property. We talked about other locations as well. We kept coming back to Muskoka Heritage Place. It's a fantastic asset for the town of Huntsville. This gives us an opportunity to highlight it in a way that it's never been sort of looked at before, creates a whole new season for Muskoka Heritage Place, puts a whole different set of eyes and a way to feel about that place. I think it does that for us as well. You would navigate yourself through this trail and this sort of memorable experience, interactive light installations, as I mentioned, that will take you through sort of the experience of the seasons. This is very, very immersive. It's not just lights, it's sound. There's a story that goes behind it as well, taking you through sort of the moon phases, the 24-hour day, sort of seasonal cycles. We've also, as part of this, we've already begun, the Tax Association has put together a deposit, and we had a creative director from Cirque du Soleil in town already to put together sort of the fundamentals of this program. And we'll share a little bit with you now about what that will look like. We have a little video at some point as well that will help you to understand it a little bit better. Next slide, please, Cal. This will sort of show you how we're intending to use Muskoka Heritage Place from the entrance, walking through this autumn, winter, spring, and summer experience, and all doing that around this sundial lighting experience as well. Each one of these sort of areas will be a completely immersive experience onto itself. This is not, overly easy to sort of understand just from these pictures, but what this does is it sort of shows you cycles of the moon, harvest wheat, leaves falling. This is the way in which this lighting sort of display is going to make great use of those buildings and the experience at Muskoka Heritage Place already. Just going to give you a few more pictures. Kelly will just sort of go through them as we're sitting here taking a look, just to give you a little bit of a feeling of how they're going to use some of those assets in there already. Thanks, Cal. Thank you. We'll get this video to go for you. Just before we push play, Kelly, if I can, Blue Mountain has done something recently called Agora Path of Light. It just came to a close. They're also doing a winter installation that has already begun and will run throughout the winter. We contacted the same media company, Limbic Media. They're the ones who are working with this creative director I mentioned earlier to put together these programs for us. So we have the opportunity to take this concept, which has been proven at, I would say, our greatest competitor in terms of a destination and bringing it to Muskoka. And I think it is an idea and an experience that fits far better with what Muskoka is and what Huntsville is than it does in the Blue Mountain region, to be honest with you. We'll give you a little video, which I think will help you to understand it a little bit better.
I just don't know if there's sound just now when it started, but hopefully you'll be able to hear something. I'll see if I can make that happen, but if nothing else, you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. Yeah, don't know why there's no sound.
I'll just sort of talk while we're watching it. You can sort of see how this is not just Christmas lights up on a street pole. There will be sounds playing. The lights will respond to sound. They may respond to voices. There may be opportunities to say words and have those words sort of echo throughout the space. It's not just this idea of looking at lights, but again, as I mentioned, it's a fully immersive experience. Spoken word, which is taking you through the journey of time. And again, imagine this light display that you're seeing here. Imagine Muskoka Heritage Place is the backdrop for this. And I really do think it will have people who aren't truly looking at Heritage Place as an experience for themselves, really looking at it differently. The other important piece of this is not an investment in this one-time experience from February to May. We're investing in assets that we'll own. We're learning now already and working with Festival of the Arts, how we can continue. This can be something that happens 2-3 times a year. It can, we can tweak it, we can change it, we can make further investment to add certain components to it that weren't there before. But again, this one-time moment that we're talking about, February till May, that is about helping businesses be busier, helping more visitors come to our town at a time where we need them so direly. But it's also something that will continue to do that same thing once COVID's behind us. It'll be putting us on the map and giving people a reason to come in those seasons that are a little harder to generate interest. Thanks, Kelly.
Okay. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. So thank you, Jesse. And it's been a real pleasure working with the team on this. It's been a lot of work and a lot of dots to, cross and T's to cross, I should say. I want to thank the Festival of the Arts too, working really closely with us. I think it's going to be a great collaboration, and certainly with the Downtown BIA and Morgan and her team, there's more than just the lights. I think there's going to need to be bridging the two downtown and Muskoka Heritage Place together. So certainly working with the BIA and the Festival of the Arts, the plan would also be downtown in Rivermill Park to show, have an opportunity to engage youth in particular with ice sculpture, snow forts, that sort of thing. I think the ice rink in Rivermill Park may not happen as I understand it, but still a really great space, safe. And we obviously want to keep people downtown as much as possible. Again, working with the BIA, having, dog sledding potentially in Rivermill Park, horse-drawn wagon rides, lots of opportunity for entertainment and really engaging people specifically. It does say here, pending Provincial Reconnect Festival grant. I'm very pleased to tell you that we were approved this morning for $290,000 towards this project, specifically as it relates to enhancing these activities and enhancing the lights. So it's a really great, coup, and we're very, very excited, and the timing is excellent. In terms of outdoor winter activities, I'll talk about this a bit more in marketing, but all along the vision for this has been to engage people that aligns with our community brand, which I would certainly suggest from an outdoor perspective and active living, outdoor human-powered activity. We'd like to focus on developing trails within Muskoka Heritage Place, whether they're Nordic, also snowshoeing. We'd love to see that happen during the day as well. I don't know, that piece is tricky in terms of staffing it for Muskoka Heritage Place. And we're working with the team on that. I don't think it would be possible on the weekend unless we staffed it, but we're working towards that. I think having trails in and around that area is critical, so that there's daytime activities as well. And then of course, having fat biking, anything that can happen that's around there. And I know that the municipality is already working towards having a walking track up at Lions Lookout. And we'd love to extend this, maybe not this year, but this is something that, like Jesse said, is not just a 1-year thing. I think we need to position ourselves as a winter destination for years and years to come. So obviously, the marketing piece, when we started looking at winter marketing, as Jesse indicated, it's very hard for us to sort of identify what the products were going to be that we were going to be focusing on. And that will include a very significant campaign. We're waiting to hear from FedNor funding for additional funding for marketing, but we do have, I want to say about $60,000 from a separate grant and a separate collaborative, which the municipality invested in, that will be focused entirely on a digital marketing campaign. So we're very well positioned for this specific installation. And then just finally, COVID-19, again, as Jesse indicated, nothing we're going to do won't be without the huge consideration of safety for our residents, safety for our visitors, and ensuring that the timing is right. We did include a detailed safety plan. We will all be outdoors, obviously, very specific in, plans will be in place, signage. We're going to be asking that people are masked at all times. We have very specific limits of people in during the facility, that sort of thing. But, our safety is everyone's concern. And I think it's going to be most important from a COVID recovery perspective for our business community to see something happen in Huntsville. So.
One other, Kelly, if I can chime in, one other thing I want to that I didn't highlight is, in addition to the experiences that we've spoken about, the lighting installation and that experience at Muskoka Heritage Place, we've also in this program is a lighting installation, a pretty major one at Town Hall. And the idea there is that ties in the experience at Heritage Place to the experience travelers and the local public would be having downtown as well. So it's really meant to bring people into the town. It's definitely going to be a reason for a place like Deerhurst or Hidden Valley or any accommodator to get people to come up this way. But I just want to make sure that we highlight that is part of this program as well. And I think that will be a really extraordinary sort of wow moment, and it will sort of tie into the experience of Muskoka Heritage Place as well.
Yeah. Much of those details are outlined in Greg Pilling's report, which is incredible and very thorough. And I cannot thank Greg Pilling and the team around him for working so closely with us on this. There's great enthusiasm, and he's just been absolutely phenomenal and helpful. Right. So I'll hand this over to you, Jesse.
Thank you. I know that these details will be reviewed by Town Council and as part of Greg's report as well, but I just want to make sure that they were on the screen if there are any questions that we can answer for you as well. If we look at the contributions here, you can see that we have committed already $50,000 to the creative process of putting this together. We believe in it to the point that we wanted to make sure we could get far enough to share details that you could sort of conceptualize and get behind. That board stays committed to the additional $250,000 we'd like to put forward for this project. I think that $290,000 that Kelly just mentioned is absolutely worth celebrating. So congratulations, Kelly, to your team for putting that together. Thank you so much. You can see this is the collaborative piece here, the Chamber of Commerce, Festival of the Arts, BIA, all participating to take this idea, grow it, and make it sort of all encompassing through downtown and Heritage Place. There's two asks in there, which I know that you have heard about. One is a cash request to get us to this final project of $41,500 from town of Huntsville, and then an in-kind request similarly of about $47,000 as well. On the other side, you can see how those funds will be spent. And I know there's far more details in Greg's report that you'll be looking at today. I'd like to sort of close off by saying it may have been, that tax association getting together to consider how we can help get through COVID together, how we can focus on tourism, how that has a greater economic impact on the businesses throughout the town of Huntsville. That's where this started. But I think what we came up with, although it's not a new idea, although we have a competitor who's doing something similar, we're still on the right side of this thing. We have an experience already at Muskoka Heritage Place and in our sort of authentic downtown, not this sort of fabricated, curated experience that you'll find in a village. This is going to help us and help businesses get through sort of the pain of the next 6 to 12 months. But it's also an opportunity for us to put an experience at Huntsville on the map that's going to deliver year over year over year. And this is something that the board would continue to invest in on a yearly basis to make sure it can stay different and continue to do what it's going to do this year for us in future years. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it this evening. If there's, I don't know if we should be asking for questions. If there are any, I'd be happy to try to answer them. Otherwise, I'll get out of your way.
Okay, thanks, Jesse. Thanks, Kelly. We will see if council has any general questions. We will get to the report later on in the meeting, but as far as the presentation goes, Councillor Stone.
Thanks for the presentation. It looks fabulous. I love the idea of a brand new product to attract people to Huntsville. But like everybody else, we're worried about attracting crowds during the pandemic. So that's a fine line we have to walk. My question for you is, putting up these displays and taking them down is hugely labor intensive, which is costly. So are the products that you're saying that we will own after this, will they be staying in place, or do they have to go up and down every year that we do it?
Yeah, so they would come down because of where we're using them. If we picked a location that nobody was using for other purposes, they could stay in place. But they're surprisingly, probably a lift and a few people. What we're buying actually in terms of the assets is actually not overly complicated in terms of putting up and putting down. The technology that drives these things is very different from plugging in a set of lights. But the product themselves, once that technology is a part of it, is actually not very difficult at all. So yes, they would come up and go down. We spent a lot of time, getting assurances from Limbic that is something that we would be able to put a team together to do, be it through the Festival of the Arts. And the other good thing, Bob, about that is they then could actually be used in other locations for different experiences that might highlight different seasons, different assets. Perhaps the Festival of the Arts will use them in installations in another way. So although it might seem at first problematic to take them down, it's actually in the long run is going to be a better thing for us than a more complicated thing.
Wonderful, thanks.
Yep, you're welcome.
Councillor Withey.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Jesse and Kelly. You basically had me at successful grant. That's a lot of money that you guys got, and I think that's great. I have to say I'm excited about this. I don't think it's a big ask for the town, and it's got longevity to it. I think that I don't know what you would have done without that grant, Kelly, but there would have been a different presentation, I think, and maybe a different reaction. But anyway, I think this is exciting. I'm hopeful that this comes through and COVID doesn't ruin it for all of us. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim.
Deputy Mayor Alcock.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Jesse and Kelly. I echo what Councillor Withey just said. I think it's awesome that you got the grant, Kelly. That's pretty cool. And I think this is a fantastic project. I do have a quick question, and that was, I couldn't remember, I think it might have been in the note, maybe it's later, is there a plan to let everybody use this for free, but you sign up online? Or is there any thought of charging people to go in and walk through? I just couldn't remember what the plan was around that.
I mean, the plan right now, and Kelly, I'll let you fill in the details about how people sign up to be a part of it. We, you know, in a non-COVID world, you could have as many people as you wanted walking through this experience, which is a wonderful part of it all. And we'll get there, right? At some point, that's what this will be. But we spent a lot of time, Kelly and her team, figuring out how we will monitor and maintain the right number of people going through it at one point. Right now, our hope is in its first year at least to do this as a free experience for travelers and for our for residents of Huntsville.
Yeah, I think there's that is the goal, is to keep it free. There's the possibility that there may be a small stipend that the group will determine, and the MAT board is going to meet on Friday to finalize those details. But definitely, you know, there'll be a sign up opportunity, but then there'll also be a lineup opportunity for people that just come across it. So it'll be a bit of a hybrid. But you know, we'll give the opportunity for people to book if they want to. It'll be online.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple of things. Number one, I love the project. I think it's great. The second point I would make, I guess, is this whole process, this whole endeavor, I guess reinforces the whole concept behind the municipal accommodation tax and the usage of that in the first place. And I think this is just like a shining example of using the proceeds from the MAT tax. And I just wanted to congratulate you all on that. I think this is quite reassuring, and it's a fabulous project. So anyway, I'm quite excited about it.
Thank you.
Councillor Schumacher.
Through you, Mayor Terziano. Thank you, Jesse and Kelly, for the presentation. And yeah, it's great to hear. I'm all on board for things that are going to bring people to Huntsville. I mean, as Councillor Stone said, though, we do have to look at the COVID year. I mean, I see things like a light show that you can incorporate something with Canada Day features, because we do the Canada Day at Heritage Place, you know, or at Avery Beach in the evening, and creating some sort of light show that would represent Canada Day, and we can tie all of that in. I think it's an awesome idea. I just, yeah, the concern comes, and hopefully in February we'll see how things go. It's just, you know, things like music at conversation level, you can't have a warming hut, you know, all of those things that hopefully we'll be looking at to be able to keep in play to keep people safe.
I think the other, thank you, Councillor Schumacher. I think the other thing to note there too is if we get to the month of February and things are such that this can't happen, the problems for the businesses in town will only be worse come April than they are in February. And that's, I think, one of the greatest things about this project is there's lots of work to be done between now and February that we really can't put off for a decision at a later date, but this thing could wait. So if February rolls around, we're going to have bigger problems to solve come April, and that's when this will happen. And the concept was designed with that in mind. This idea of going through the seasons, doesn't matter what season you're experiencing, it still makes sense. And so we did pay a lot of attention to the fact that that problem could be upon us, and this is still a great solution. It's literally just kicking it forward X number of days, months, weeks, whatever it might be. So, I mean, that feels good about this project. It can work later as well.
Thank you, Jesse. And for follow-up, I do appreciate that. I mean, I talked to some businesses, and I know the past weekend that was girlfriend getaway weekend, they didn't do as well as they have in previous years, right? So we know that hardship is real. And yeah, anything we can do to try to help offset that, you know, is an option. But yeah, so we're trying to balance, you know, the economy and keeping businesses viable and keeping people safe.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Just a quick thing to add to that. I would just say we're working very closely with the health unit on every aspect of this. If for some reason COVID, along with the timeline of getting all of our equipment together, gives us an opportunity to start this earlier than February, we're going to do so, and that's part of Greg's report. I know we've said February a number of times. If it's possible to do it towards the end of January or a little sooner, those are things we'll be working with your team to pull off, and the health unit, of course.
Councillor Armour.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Through you. You mentioned staffing. Are you looking at using current Huntsville employees, or will you be hiring outside for just from the BIA, et cetera, to run the? And you also mentioned not being staffed on weekends. Was that in your budget for weekend for costs?
So it's the chamber that will be hiring staff for this. It won't be town employees. And it is on the weekend. So this is a 7-day-a-week with like lighting installation feature. The weekend complication comes with just opening Muskoka Heritage Place unstaffed with municipal staff just to use the trail. So that's something we'll be working with your team on. But no, it would be every day in the evenings, so that lights are showing. Yeah.
Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Your Worship. Great presentation. Excited to see what's happening. I'm sure we're all on the same page there. Kelly, you alluded to not having a rink this year at River Mill. Was that through the volition of the BIA, or is that something that's come down from the health unit, or has the town given you that direction, or is it just in limbo? If you can enlighten me a little.
I mean, it's kind of a combination of all things. Primarily, it's very complicated with having to have it staffed all of the time. Health unit, you know, I don't know that it's 100% off the table, but I certainly think it's erring to that side at this point. Initially, in my presentation to General, we were looking at having a skating rink up at Lions Lookout Field, which is still very much a dream and a vision that I think we hope to see come to fruition in the future. This year is very complicated due to COVID and the requirements around it, combined with the fact that the site itself doesn't have water or power, although that's not, we did get a quote for about $15,000 that could make it happen. So something we could look at in the future. And if we can pull it together this year, we'll be back. But at this point, it's looking challenging at best.
Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like you've cleared the board there of questions. So we will thank you guys for that, let you go. And again, it's later on in the agenda, and we have a report coming, as you alluded to.
Thank you.
Making some decisions, I'm sure.
And thank you to everyone, Your Worship included, for your excitement and your support of this idea. We'll keep pushing on as hard as we are, and we hope to see everybody in February at Muskoka Heritage Place. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. All right, Council, I have a resolution moved by Councillor Withey and seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that the Council meeting minutes dated October 26, 2020 be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. We have reports from committees. The first one up is the Library Board. The only minutes attached here are older minutes from October. And not a lot to highlight in those, but I would like to mention that the library is open now as far as staff being back in it, and people being able to order books and pick them up. All of the building issues have been resolved, so there's no issues there. It's just not open to the public to come in and browse or use computers yet. So that's probably all I have to update on the library, unless there's any questions. BIA Board of Management minutes, a couple of sets there, Councillor Stone.
All right. As Kelly mentioned, the BIA has decided, sadly, to not have the outdoor rink in River Mill Park again this year. Many factors involved, including the cost and timing and placement of it, including sponsorships for that were on the boards. That's down, And the big one is the uncertainty over COVID, of course. We'd have to staff it to monitor the number of people. And as we have just moved into orange, it may go to red, but anyways, it's too many questions and too expensive to take a risk at it. So the BIA has decided not to do it this year. Greystone came to the BIA board and they asked for the BIA's support in closing King Street this winter so that they can work on the outside of the old TD building and the new retail store. And you know they're going to do a great job. They already are, and it's going to look fabulous. And the BIA does support that. Nancy from Nutty Chocolatier, she owns the building across the street, and actually she came for the BIA board support to change the 3 parking spots in front of Affogatos to make it a permanent patio, a year-round patio. Because she owns that building and thinks it's going to be a big asset. The board was unanimously supportive of it, and I think it's wonderful to enhance that side of Main Street, the River Mill side of Main Street. Lastly, Santa and Mrs. Claus will in fact be downtown this winter, and I asked how they were going to do that safely. The answer was that there's going to be a sleigh, and Santa and Mrs. Claus will be at the front of the sleigh, and the kids will be sitting in the back of the sleigh, and they will devise a candy cane chute of sorts to deliver candy canes to the kids, and they can get their pictures with Santa, and it sounds wonderful and safe. And that's it.
Questions? Comments? Councillor Withey.
Thank you, Worship. You mentioned, and I apologize, where is this place that you want to take parking away from and make a year-round patio? I'm sorry.
So it's the 3 parking spaces that are actually owned by that building owner, right in front of Affogatos, out behind.
What's Affogatos? Sorry, that's
Affogatos it's a small eatery on the River Mill side, right beside Little Place by the Lights.
Okay, sorry. I was thinking of somewhere completely different. I thought this had to do with the old TD Bank and closing King Street. And I thought, what the heck? What? Sorry. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Great, thanks for that, Bob. And you're still up for Committee of Adjustment minutes.
Committee of Adjustment, we had 2 applications and neither was controversial, so I don't really need to tell you about it.
Any questions of council? Okay. Jonathan, Councillor Weeb, the Lake Bays Chamber of Commerce update.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not much to add beyond the presentation that you heard. Obviously, Kelly's got her hands full with it, but we're also embarking on some more visioning in terms of what the future of the chamber and what that's going to look like going forward after sort of post-COVID, if we're going to endeavor to look at a building or a permanent home. So there's those discussions going on as well. So that's about it.
Okay, questions? None? And finally, the Muskoka Accommodation Tax Tourism update. And I think probably that presentation says it all as to what the Accommodation Tax Board are working on. And as they alluded to, we have a meeting on Friday to tie up all loose ends on this project. So maybe next council meeting, I'll have more of an update. Okay, I have a resolution moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Armour. Be it resolved that the General Committee meeting minutes dated October 28th, 2020, and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as printed and circulated. Questions? All in favor? That carries. And I have a resolution moved by Councillor Alcock and seconded by Councillor Weeb. Be it resolved that the Planning Committee meeting minutes dated November 11th, 2020, and the recommendations contained therein be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. And Deputy Mayor Alcock, would you like to highlight anything from that meeting?
I can be very quick. We did have one deputation from a citizen requesting the committee approve his request to submit an application to committee for a minor variance. And there were issues around why it needed committee approval, but we agreed that he could do that. We approved 2 zoning bylaw amendments, as well as 2 site plan applications. And interesting to note, with both site plan applications, they're both located on Highway 60 and will result in almost 100, actually over 100 units of multi-residential. So in both cases, the builder developers are ready to proceed. So that's quite a significant increase for Huntsville. And finally, we did hear, for information only, another zoning application and consent to sever application related to Camp Minneowi. There were a lot of people participating with respect to that. Camp Minneowi, I should say, has told committee that they've suffered financially with during COVID, and they would like to sever part of their property into 4 waterfront lots. And the issues primarily, while there were lots of different issues raised, the primary issue with respect to it raised by many of the citizens who have property surrounding or abutting was the issue of access. So committee suggested, and I think clearly this was supported by staff, that there continue to be discussions between those involved. There are a number of consultants representing the residents and representing the applicant. So further discussions are required to cover all of those. And then there will be another public meeting with respect to this item. And I think that's my report.
Okay, are there any questions from council? Okay, I've read the resolution. All in favor? And that carries. Okay, we are at reports from municipal officers, and the first one is the Downtown Streetscape Communications and Marketing, and I have a resolution I'm going to read first. It's a bit lengthy, so moved by Councillor Stone and seconded by Councillor Weed. Be it resolved that council supports the inclusion of $30,000 in the draft 2021 municipal accommodation tax operational budget for signage and marketing related to the streetscape project. And further, that staff be directed to proceed with developing a streetscape project brand to be funded from the 2020 corporate marketing design account. And further, that staff be directed to enter into an MOU with the Huntsville Legion to utilize and promote the Legion parking lot as public parking from May 1st to October 30th in 2021 and 2022. So before we go to questions on that, I think Lisa and Lauren are going to walk us through a rather in-depth plan. So ladies, the floor is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you, Your Worship and council members. So I'm here with our communication coordinator, Lauren McDermott, to report on the communication plan for Streetscape. As directed by council and in consultation with partners, we've developed a full communication plan attached for information as Appendix A, and we've summarized the document the best that we can in the body of the report. This plan has been developed as a proactive, enhanced level of communication for the Streetscape project due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the economic impact both will have on the community next year. I think it's important to highlight that we consider this plan as a flexible living document to ensure that we can adapt any communication needs throughout the project and to incorporate any additional measures as timelines, detours, and the contractor is selected. So both the report and the plan are very detailed. And in consideration of your time, we're going to try and summarize this in a short, high-level brief. So I will be highlighting the marketing tactics and the budget, but first, Lauren will highlight the communication strategy.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. So in order to draft a strategic communications and marketing plan, we conducted a thorough analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in combination with survey results from the King William construction project. So by doing so, this allowed us to identify that the goals and objectives align with the town's overarching corporate values, and our key publics would like enhanced communication. So during this analysis, there were 2 types of management goals identified. One being relationship management, which focuses on maintaining a positive relationship between key publics and the District of Muskoka, Town of Huntsville, and Huntsville BIA. The second type of management goal is task management, which focuses on increasing public awareness of construction, increasing public knowledge of access routes to downtown core, increasing public knowledge of public parking locations, attracting residents to downtown businesses, attracting tourists to downtown businesses as well. So with these outlined goals as guidance, we were able to determine smart, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely objectives that focus on awareness and action. So awareness objectives focus specifically on increasing identified key public's understanding of the construction of project timelines or detours, whereas actions objectives focus specifically on increasing identified key public website visits for construction information on huntsville.ca. It's important to note that these objectives were selected because they are measurable. So the timeline and key messaging for this project was broken down into 3 phases. So phase 1 is pre-construction, which focuses on education and awareness. So the streetscape is coming, prepare now. This is where you go for information. And phase 2 is construction. So this will consist of approximately 5 construction stages. And the communications and marketing focus will be about awareness, acceptance, and execution. Whereas phase 3 is construction is completed. So celebrate, promote the fresh new look, and review the overall success of the plan. So throughout the plan, all partners will work jointly together to communicate key messages and tactics. So the town of Huntsville will focus primarily on awareness and education, whereas the District of Muskoka will be technical updates, and the BIA and Chamber will handle activation of events and tourism initiatives. So I'm going to hand this back over to Lisa, and she'll discuss the key publics and tactics.
Thank you, Lauren. So part of the strategy for the communication and marketing plan is to define those key publics or target audiences. And simply put, we're identifying who we need to engage in communication with, how the project is going to affect them, and what marketing tactics should be used in order to reach them. The plan identifies 7, and they include Huntsville residents, Huntsville businesses, downtown businesses and organizations, Muskoka residents, seasonal Huntsville residents, tourists and visitors, and Huntsville school boards. So in order to connect with these key publics, we've outlined marketing tactics that include things like media releases, newspaper ads, radio ads, social media, and newsletters. At this point, we have 17 of them outlined. The tactics, some of them are produced once and throughout the whole project or used multiple times. It's important to note that using one tactic could satisfy a specific key public, but the approach we're recommending is integrated, and we plan on using several tactics simultaneously to provide this proactive communication at key times throughout the construction. So an example would be, we would use radio, newspaper, newsletters, and social media 2 weeks before a new stage of construction or a major change or an event. So I'm not going to provide the specific details for those 17 tactics tonight, as the information is in the body of the report and the attached plan, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have regarding those. The plan also identifies how we're going to measure our successes and areas that need to be of improvement. So throughout the construction project, we'll be monitoring our efforts with respect to these tactics. We'll be tracking website visits, gauging how aware our community is of the project through surveys. And if we need to, we can adapt the plan or messaging to ensure that we're continually reaching these key publics and improving our communication as we go. And finally, to wrap up my summary, we've outlined the estimated budget. Because this is an enhanced level of communication, staff have outlined utilizing the funds from the MAP budget in 2021. As the plan is a living document, we need the budget to also be flexible as well. And meaning if we get feedback from our residents and they identify that we need to adjust an advertising spend in a certain area, we would want that budget to reflect that as well. So I think that concludes our report summary for this evening, but we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for keeping it as brief as you did, because it's a very in-depth report. There's a lot in it, and I hope that Council keeps it handy, because I think it's also going to be a changing report as we go through, and I suspect that we will probably have it before us, maybe at a general committee meeting as we get closer to the start of construction, to go over things again. I think from a town perspective, we want to make sure that we do everything we can to keep people coming downtown through this long process, And we hope that the BIA does everything they can to give people a reason to actually come downtown. So between the district and the town and the BIA, we're being very proactive in this, and Lisa and Lauren have done an awful lot of work, and I think they've been working with Morgan from the BIA as well on it. So there's a lot there, but if there's any specific questions at this time, Council, it's a good time to chat. Councillor Armour.
Thank you, Worship. Thanks very much for your report. Very detailed, as the mayor has stated. One thing I didn't notice, I might have missed it though, for the seasonal residents, is there any thought of putting something in their April tax bills to notify them of the construction that's taking place? I might have missed it, but.
Absolutely. The report is, the actual plan is quite detailed. So there are a lot of items in a report, like utilizing tax bills or providing tourist related messaging. So that's definitely on our radar, but we'll make a note for consideration to dive into that in more detail.
Councillor Withy?
Thank you, Worship. A couple quick things. I noticed, first of all, I'm just trying to, it's a very thorough report. Good job on that. Quick question though, you're asking us to approve this recommendation. And when you just spoke to us, Lisa, you mentioned you would love some flexibility in the town budget. I hope that's not in this recommendation, because I'm not prepared to give flexibility in the budget at this point. We're not even close to settling it yet. And further to that, and sorry, not sort of bulldoze you here with a couple things at once. In the body of your report, you've got something here about parking that says $17,000 a year to Mike Peters for the John Street lot. Is that part of this $30,000? Or is this a separate ask, or where does that money come from?
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. With respect to the budget, the 30,000 is what we are requesting. I think I could have better clarified that the line items that we have for specific things like radio or newspaper, if the municipality, or sorry, if the residents through surveys indicated that we needed to produce more radio in order to reach them, or another marketing tactic, that we would adjust the line items within that $30,000. We wouldn't, and if we required something larger, then we would absolutely come back for permission from council.
Okay, and the parking bit?
With respect to parking, I will have to defer that question to Director Maxwell.
Director Maxwell?
Thank you, Your Worship. At this point, staff were recommending not to proceed with the Peters parking lot due to the cost. However, that is something that definitely we can take direction on as well. This report says that we're asking for permission to join with, enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Legion, because they've suggested we could use their lot as well as the curling club.
Thank you. I was just referring to the page in the document that has the curling club, Legion, and then Mike Peters. And anyway, that's why I brought that up. It kind of jumps out.
It's not the resolution that's before us.
Good.
It was just part of the report it had been an ask that went out.
Thanks.
Councillor Stone.
Yes, there is another motion that I've put forward that will be addressing the parking lot, the Brendale Square parking lot, but that will come after this. With regards to the presentation, comprehensive, well thought out, tons of work put into it. Thank you very much. It'll be as good as its implementation, of course. The one thing I saw that was missing is, in my opinion, in Tactic 15 with communication with the businesses. I believe it should include a real live person, a liaison of sorts that can be the point of contact for the businesses and the district and the town. A person that the businesses can actually ask what's happening or how come this is happening. And just referencing to go to the website, and I know that's not the only thing you're doing, but suggesting go to the website and find it isn't really good communication in that respect. But I know that this could be a function of the streetscape ambassador that we had previously discussed. So hopefully that can be part of that person's role. Anyways, that's it.
I don't see anybody jumping on this. I think we have had discussions about a body. Well, I don't even want to label what we're calling them now, and I agree with you, Councillor Stone. A person to be hands-on is important, but I just don't think it's part of the marketing strategy. I don't think it's part of this stage, but I don't think it's something that we're not going to do. We're not going to talk about doing. I hope I got that right. Are there any other questions? Councillor Fitzgerald.
I just want to say great report. I don't have any questions because all the information's there. So thank you.
Okay, you guys did an awesome job. Thank you very much. I will call the question. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Now, I do have, I guess while we're on this topic, as Councillor Stone just noted, he has asked to introduce a motion about the Mike Peters parking lot that was part of that, but not in that resolution. And we need 2/3 of council to add it. At first, I need a seconder to add it to an item to deal with. So I have it moved by Councillor Stone. Is there a seconder for the motion?
I had sent a draft out to council. Hopefully someone will second it.
Councillor Thompson, are you a seconder? Thank you for that. So now, sorry, Madam Clerk, do we need 2/3 to just to pass it or 2/3 to allow us to deal with it? To pass it, okay. All right, so I have a resolution moved by Councillor Stone and seconded by Councillor Thompson. Be it resolved that staff be directed to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Sam Peters Investment, Mike Peters, to rent the parking lot at 6 John Street as public parking in 2021 at a cost of not to exceed $17,000. And further, that staff be directed to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Downtown Huntsville BIA to share the cost to rent the parking lot at 6 John Street at a breakdown of 60% of the cost to be borne by the town of Huntsville and 40% of the cost to be covered by the BIA. And further, that the amount of $10,200 be added to the draft 2021 municipal accommodation tax operational budget for rental of parking spaces at 6 John Street. Questions? Or Councillor Stone, would you like to speak to it first?
I would, if you don't mind. So of all the things that the town can do to help the businesses downtown survive the streetscape, I think this is the single most important thing that we can do. We can have a great communication plan, offer 50% grant funding for facade improvement, hire consultants to help make websites for the businesses. But if the people of Huntsville and the visitors can't easily, without planning ahead or checking a website, simply drive to the downtown and shop, they will go somewhere else. This parking lot is literally a stone's throw from downtown. We can rent these 200 spots and we'll never hear, I couldn't find a spot because of the construction. And they can always get to the businesses.
Okay, questions? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. And Councillor Stone answered part of my question in terms of the numbers. I think 200 is great. The other part of it is, and I haven't been in that parking lot lately, but is it lined? I mean, is Mr. Peters willing to create lined parking spots or spaces so that people will, have an idea where they can park without just a big hodgepodge of cars jammed into that space down there? So I'm hoping that we're looking at lined parking spaces. Are we not, Councillor Stone?
Maybe we'll ask Director Hernan if he's been by lately. I know there is some lines in there because I've parked in that lot before, but Director Hernan, do you know what the condition is on that lot as far as line park spots?
No, I'm sorry, I don't know. I haven't paid attention, to be honest with you.
Okay. Has anybody been by lately?
I believe it's both yes and no. Some of it is and some of it's not.
I may have picked up Chinese food, and in front of China House there is some parking, but of course where I'm trying to think, the Thai truck and Algonquin Cafe over the summer had their spots there. There wasn't any lined parking in front of that area or canvas.
So we could make part of the memorandum of understanding that the parking lot needs to be lined, that the owner would need to make sure that it was a lined parking lot. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Your Worship. That brings to question the snow removal. Whose responsibility would that be in this $17,000 agreement? Because I know in parking lots that quite a few spaces get eliminated in that Brendel Square area. And if we're looking at trucking, we're looking at more costs. So I'd be curious to know how that one plays out.
I think the primary usage period is going to be May to October, so I'm not sure whether we would get into snow removal, but Director Hernan, can you add anything from that end?
Well, I haven't been party to these discussions, so I don't know what the concept is, but Main Street will be reopened in November. So I don't know if you really require it for winter parking. You know, when you look at Main Street as a whole, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, I think it's like 60 spots. I know we're losing some with the turn lanes, but by November, Main Street reopened. It will be shut down for a few days in the spring the following year for the final lift pavement going down. But like I say, I wasn't party to the discussion, so I don't know if winter maintenance is required or if you even leave the lot in the winter time.
Councillor Armour.
Thank you, Worship. I'm just curious about the current vendors that are there. Would they be displaced by us renting this, and will they have to find new locations? Because I think that's they make a pretty good living sitting in that area. Does anybody have an answer to that?
Because we haven't entered into a memorandum or hammered out the details, that would all be within that, and I would doubt very much we would displace the vendors. We would use whatever parking we would. None of these details have been worked out, and everything will go in the memorandum, but they're all good points to be made so that when we do this, if we do it, that we iron out those things. Councillor Withey. You're on mute, Councillor.
Sorry about that. I guess I wasn't on mute before I put myself on mute. I guess fundamentally I have an issue with this whole thing coming to us now. We have no idea who negotiated the 17,000. According to Director Hernan, he hasn't been party to any of this stuff. So I'm not, and we're still in budget deliberations. So I'm not happy with just approving $17,000 for something we don't know a lot of details for. So I will not be supporting this this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Stone?
Yes, so it's not 17,000, it would be 10,200, and that monies would come from the accommodation tax fund.
Deputy Mayor Alcock.
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually, Councillor Withey raised one of the, actually it was Councillor Armour who raised the thing about the food vendors that are there. That I thought was pretty important, that we understand that. But I also echo what Councillor Withey is saying. The recommendation to go forward in this wasn't in the staff report. So I think there are a number of questions around, you know, things like the lining and the parking lot, but also the condition of the parking lot. There are other parts, as I recall, that are not in great shape, but maybe I'm wrong. I haven't been there, I guess, in a while. So I just think there are a couple of information, items. I guess with respect to the money as well, it sounds like Councillor Stone, you've already had some input from the BIA, how much they would contribute. And so were there discussions around that gives you some certainty that they will contribute that much?
Councillor Stone?
So at the BIA board meeting, I did bring up the preliminary conversations that the town had with Mike Peters, and they were all very excited about the prospect of getting it. We did not talk about how it was going to be funded. I did speak to Rachel Hunt, who is the chair of the board, and she is very much in support and thinks it's important, one of the important boxes to check off for saving downtown.
Council, I wonder if maybe a slight amendment that directs staff to negotiate a memorandum of understanding with the same terms in there and report back to council where the negotiations go. I think enough questions have been raised tonight that we don't have all the details, but they've never been directed to go out and negotiate something. So maybe that's what we're looking at.
I'd be happy with that.
Councillor Schumacher had her hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd be happy with that. Again, as I did bring up with the line parking piece, there is Algonquin Cafe that we had just allowed them to do last year in the Thai truck. And I do believe the last time I was kind of in that parking lot, there are some areas that are portioned off. So it is some sort of negotiation as to what exactly it would entail. Like where are those 200 spaces? And I think there needs to be some sort of memorandum of understanding and get all the details and bring that back to us.
Councillor Armour?
Thank you, Worship. I was just going to suggest that maybe we table this and send it back to staff so we can get all that information what we're needing.
Sure.
Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I think this is, as Councillor Stone said, this is quite important to the downtown. So if there's some way we can make this work, I think we should really, put our best foot forward and get all these answers and come back with an idea exactly what we can expect for the $17,000, because as Councillor Stone says, it's critical, and I couldn't agree with him more. This is going to do a lot for the downtown, and you're right. It's just a hop, step, and a jump across the bridge in your downtown type of thing. So if we can make it work, I think we really have to.
Okay, Council, give me 20 seconds. Okay, Council, we can't table it. That would kill it. We can defer it to our next meeting, either the budget meeting on December 10th or our regular meeting in December. I don't think it's critical that we have a decision right now. It's not until next year. Are you happy to just defer it to the December council meeting? I'm seeing a nod of heads. So can we just do that? To council, yes. December council. Can I have a mover and seconder to defer to the Councillor Stone and Deputy Mayor Alcock? So we are deferring to the December council meeting. All in favor? And that carries. And I hope, I see Ayla's looking at me, and I hope she realizes that's enough direction for staff to go back and get to work on this. Great, thank you very much. We're at reports from municipal officers. And the first one is insurance update 2021, additional information. Julia and Rebecca.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we did bring forward a report to General Committee back in October, and we were asked to provide some additional information on the insurance update for 2021. So that is the report that is before you, and I will let Rebecca Hawken go over that for you.
Thank you, Julia. As Julia mentioned, we had brought a report to the October committee
with a recommendation to transfer savings in insurance premiums and deductibles, and to allow the treasurer the authority to transfer funds. There was a lot of great discussion on the topic, and it was deferred to this meeting to allow staff to provide a more detailed breakdown of our claims summary. So the informational report includes a summary of our open and closed claims with BFL Canada since 2013, when we first started with their service. So that's in the report, and then attached to the report is the actual loss run summary that has had information redacted in terms of personal information, so that you can see the types of claims that have been reported to BFL. We also had the opportunity to speak with Councillor Withy about some of our claims, and he provided some great suggestions on how to move forward. I will note that in the report it talks about myself doing a review of our open claims and going back to our insurance company. So I have actually had the opportunity, since I wrote the report, to review those and have identified some open claims that should be closed, as well as some things that just aren't quite matching up with our reconciliation. So we're just waiting to hear back from them on the status of that review. I also have a meeting set up to speak with our insurance adjuster on Friday, just to talk about some of our procedures related to claims and submitting claims to our insurance company. That's all I had.
Thank you for that. And that was quite a bit more information provided. But are there any questions now? Councillor Withy.
Sorry, I'm pretty mouthy tonight, eh? Sorry. Rebecca, I'm available Friday. You want me there? Actually, good report, and we had a good meeting following up on that. I think that this further detail is very important and gives us a little leverage to push back a little bit on what they're trying to jam us for renewal for, like we all do every day in my world. So thank you for that. Great job. And I am available Friday.
Any other questions? Okay, that was for information. And there's a second insurance report. This one has the resolution. So it's moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that savings experienced in either insurance premiums or deductibles be transferred to the dedicated insurance reserve at year end, provided that this does not create a deficit in the overall town budget. And further, that bylaw number 2019-106 be amended to delegate the authority to the treasurer to transfer funds from the insurance reserve to fund unbudgeted deductibles throughout the year. Rebecca, do you want to highlight anything on this one? I know we did it last time round, but
no, I don't have anything additional to add to that original report. Hopefully we've covered all the additional information that was required in the second report.
Okay. And does council have follow-up questions? I know there were some questions about the delegated authority, but everybody's good with that now? Perfect. I'll call the question then. All in favor? And that carries. All we need is these reports to come twice and we're good.
Thank you.
Capital budget amendment. Let's see. This one has a resolution. Moved by Councillor Withy, seconded by Deputy Mayor Alcock. Be it resolved that the amendments to the capital projects as listed in Report Corp 2020-49 be approved to be included in the town draft 2021 consolidated budget. Julia.
Thank you, Worship. So when we brought forward the capital budget last month, we had some further information that came out since then with the Dan Duke report. So there was some 3 projects that we felt should be added into the capital budget, 2 of which are for 2021. So the first is the replacement of the town hall front steps. So this is just replacing at this time like for like. The brick facade at the front stairs is crumbling. The superstructure that's made of concrete block is failing, and it is suggesting that it is being replaced with cladding. There also appears to be some exposed rebar. So it's recommended that we replace the front steps in 2021 while the streetscape construction is happening, so that we aren't under construction multiple times. So that's the first one for 150,000. And I did take some photos if anybody wants to see any photos of the areas of concern of those steps. The other is for 2021 is the water sealing at the back corner of the town hall ramp. So this again was brought up in the Dan Duke report. So it's the basement area within the southwest corner of the building. It experiences spalling of interior brick and water seepage due to the breakdown of waterproofing on the exterior face of the building. Also with the streetscape project, there is the approval of the barrier-free connection ramp from the parking area behind Town Hall to Main Street, which is directly adjacent from the area of concern. So we're recommending doing this work as well while that project is being done, because it'll make more sense and it'll be more cost-effective to do it in 2021 when the other project's being done. And then the last one, it's not until 2025, but we just want to make sure it's on our radar. So this isn't approving this project to go forward in 2025, but it's just we'll put it into our capital plan so that we'll make sure we recognize it. And that's the Civic Center roof replacement and structural repairs. So there's some, I won't say the right thing, some areas of the roof that need to be addressed.
Questions from council? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. With regards to 2025, Julia, the Civic Center roof replacement and structural repairs, is that the entire Civic Center or just the Old Town Hall, or the entire building, including the theater?
To be honest, I'll have to double check on that one. I can find out for sure, but I know it's, I believe it's the town, it's the older part. And the word I was looking for, it's the membrane that needs to be replaced on the roof, as well as some other structural repairs.
Okay, thank you, Julia.
Councillor Stone?
So just to be clear, $150,000 to replace the town hall front steps that we don't use? And do we have intention to use them?
So right now we do have those stairs, and they should be, I think the intention is that if we are gonna, they do need to be fixed. And Director Hurden's there, he just popped up, so I think I'll let him speak to that one.
Okay.
Through you, Mayor Terziano, it is part of your fire exits for the theater. When you have a full theater, you require that for the exit. If you take them stairs out, it will reduce your capacity inside the theater. That's my old fire chief hat.
So do we have to spend 150 to actually, like, all that to fix them, or can they be cladded?
Did you want me to show the pictures of some of the areas of concern?
Let's get through the rest of the questions first, and then maybe we will. Councillor Fitzgerald was next.
Thank you, Your Worship. I know in previous discussions we had regarding the roof, there was some discussion around actually having to relocate staff. I don't know if anyone still has that belief, or if anyone has looked into that, and is that representative in the numbers here?
So it is my understanding that if this is done, then town hall staff would have to be relocated for a period of time.
Follow up,
please.
And are those costs reflected in this number?
So they aren't reflected in the number, and just in speaking with staff, just during the whole shutdown, we've been able to relocate remotely quite easily. So it might not be quite as costly as it would have in the past. So we have not put that in yet. And just in terms of the numbers that are in here, we would of course be looking at further refining those numbers as we get closer and coming up with detailed plans. And we would be going out for RFP for both for these.
Great, thanks, Julie.
Councillor Withey.
Thank you. That was sort of alluding to my question. I look at $20,000 for water sealing. These are numbers that we're asking to list these in our budget, but yet we don't really know what that costs. I look at $20,000. I don't know. We've got a couple of contractors on council here. I don't know what they think, if that's a lot of money for that kind of project or not. So I understand we're not near doing them, but is there a way to, are these numbers close? Have somebody made a few calls to these contractors that do these kinds of things to get in the ballpark, or are we going to approve, all this money without any backup at all? Thanks.
Julia?
So through your worship, so the manager of facilities did reach out and get some quotes on this. So it is based on quotes, but again, if it came in less than this, then we would only take that money out of reserve that we were spending. We wouldn't spend the full amount.
So I agree that the water saline at the back corner of Town Hall needs to be done during streetscape as we're putting in the accessible pathway between High and Main. I also believe that the replacement of the Town Hall steps should probably be done during streetscape, but I am not in favor of passing a resolution that says we'll replace those steps like for like. I am quite happy to put the money in the budget, but I am not happy to approve replacing those steps like for like today. So I think there needs to be a lot of work done on what we need for Town Hall front steps and what our future plans are for the front of Town Hall, and if those are actually the steps we want before we spend $150,000. So putting it in the budget's fine, but that does not constitute approval to go ahead with this project. In my mind, is if we pass this resolution, is that approval to go ahead?
Just for clarity, I'm just wondering if we do get approval to put it in the budget, and maybe I'll just check with the clerks, but whether there's just a motion that staff bring back a report on what the options are.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Can we do that as a separate resolution, or do we amend this one, Madam Clerk? Okay. Would council be comfortable amending this resolution to have a report come back on the front steps before anything goes ahead? Can I have a mover and seconder for the amendment? Deputy Mayor Alcock, Councillor Thompson. Okay, Deputy Mayor Alcock, moved by Deputy Mayor Alcock, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Be it resolved that we amend, I need it in front of me, I can't read. The clerk's going, go ahead, but I don't know what we're doing. Hang on, we'll get there. Are there any other questions about the motion that's on the floor? Okay.
Councillor Armour.
Councillor Armour.
Thank you, Worship. I just more of a comment than anything else. I think these prices are right on in today's market, and the cost of things, the way they're going up, they're really arbitrary. They could change overnight. So just more of a comment on the costing going forward. And I would like to see a little change in the front too.
I have a resolution moved by Deputy Mayor Alcock, and seconded by Councillor Thompson, I think it was. Be it resolved that the following be added, and further that staff bring back a report with the options to replace the front steps. All in favor? That carries. And then the original resolution Moved by Councillor Withey, seconded by Councillor Alcock as amended. All in favor? And that carries. Okay, moving right along, we are at the Smart Card Transit Fare System. Moved by Councillor Armour, seconded by Councillor Schumacher. Be it resolved that Council approves the purchase and implementation of a smart card system in order to collect transit fares at a cost of $11,400 to be funded from the Federal Provincial Safe Restart Transit Program, which is to be used to support transit delivery during COVID-19. And further that, upon installation and public education of the new system, fare collection resumes as of March 1st, 2021. Julia, are you speaking to this?
Yeah, so thank you, Worship. So just outlined in the report, as you just mentioned, that we aren't currently collecting fares on the transit due to COVID-19. However, when we normally are collecting fares, there's kind of a couple of options. People can pay cash directly with the driver to put the money in the box, or they can come to one of the locations, either at Town Hall or the library in the Summit Center, and buy passes. So what we're looking at is trying to find a more COVID-friendly way of not handling cash, I guess, and more effectively providing this service. So it's for a web-based program where you can go online and you can and buy your card online. We would ship it to them, and then you can go and you can reload your card. So you can have a card that has a certain balance on it, or you can buy a monthly pass, that sort of thing, but it would all be on this card. It would eliminate a lot of the cash on the bus, and it'd be a lot safer in terms of less touching.
Okay, questions? Councillor Schumacher.
Currently, I believe, is that the system they're using in Bracebridge on their transit system, and it's working well?
That's correct, yeah.
Councillor Armour?
Is there a cost for the bus company to actually install the card readers, or is that included in this price, or something they're going to assume?
So the cost of the hardware is actually part of that cost. There will be an annual cost that the town will have to pay for the services. That's outlined in the report, but otherwise the equipment would be in the bus and there would be no additional cost to the drivers.
Julia, where do people refill their card or even get their first card? Can they get them on the bus, or do they have to go somewhere else?
So the system that they have going is generally you would go onto the website and you would order a card, and then we would ship it to them. The other thing that we can also do is we can have some preloaded cards right at some of the locations, and then we could sell those to get them going.
So I'm just thinking, as we first start implementing this, how often people won't know about it yet, and they'll still be getting on the bus with cash in hand, and how do we implement it, I guess? Director Hernan.
So we've talked about this with the bus company briefly, if council approves this, and that's why we set a March 1st start date. We've got a lot of users from the bus that we know we'd have to educate them on the process. So we would try and get them a smart card right away, type January. They would start their tapping of the card so they understand how the system works. And then we actually just go in March 1st and put the fares behind the card so it starts to charge them. So we're looking at a whole education program to get our ridership educated on it and how they can get the cards and how they can restock the card. And once they're fully educated on it and everybody's got a card, which is a normal transit rider, unfortunately our transit system serves the same group of people. So within 3 months, we're going to see them all and we'll be able to explain it to them and make sure everybody's got a card in hand and away they go. If on a visitor comes, they can still pay direct cash by depositing into the box. There would be no change made by the driver because the driver won't be handling any cash. So if somebody didn't happen to have the exact $2 or $3 they needed for the ride and they had a $5 bill and they shove it in the box, it's their loss. So cash would be accepted, but there would be no change exchanged.
Will we have signage to indicate that we're on a card system at bus stops, and that if you do use cash, there would be no change in what the fare actually is, that type of stuff? Or?
Through you, Mayor Terziano, that's all part of the education process and making sure that our ridership is well aware of it. I mean, obviously, we'll update our website, we'll update our signage, we'll do everything we need to get people used to it. I think since COVID, everybody's used to using cards and tapping as opposed to cash. So this is just one more step in the right direction. The other thing this system is really going to give us too, which Julia, it's in the report, just to highlight it, it's going to give us real accurate information as to where riders are getting on. We'll actually be able to really track the system and see the ridership. I mean, we've got a good idea now because Campbell's does a great job of tracking that information. We'll be able to see exactly how many riders are getting on at each location and what time of days, so we can start trying to see if there's any trends or any holes in the system that we need to plug up and provide better service for.
Councillor Withey?
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple of concerns. I don't know why this motion, I get what you said about training, whatever, but the reality of where we are now with COVID and everything, I don't know why we want to vote on a hard date of March 1st. We don't know where we're going to be at that point in time. And even if you start your education and whatever and get everybody ready to go, we don't necessarily have to start on March 1st, 2021. We may be in full lockdown by then. So I don't like that part of this motion. And the other part, you made a point earlier that a lot of people during COVID are paying by tapping. And is there not a system to pay by tap that we could put in the bus rather than going through a whole coin card kind of system? Although I know they're used everywhere. I'm just throwing it out there because as soon as you said that, I thought, yeah, people are tapping everywhere. Why can't they tap for the bus rather than go through this whole internet thing? I'll pull out my Visa and go and give you what you want and move on. And then I don't have an issue of being rude to tourists by saying, that's your $5, that's your loss, that kind of stuff, which I don't think works well in a tourist town. Anyway, those are my comments.
Through you, Mayor Terziano, if I could just maybe address those quickly. The majority of our ridership is local, and they're buying the monthly passes. That's probably 99.9% of our ridership. We could look into a tap system as well. It's just the expense of it. And I think for the return for the number of people that use it, I think if we look at the dollars spent versus the convenience, you're going to see it's the complete opposite. I think Councillor Schumacher is well aware where the majority of our riders come from, and they're using the monthly passes, and that is our ridership. And I think if we can make it easier for them and get them a system that everybody understands, it'll solve the problems. A lot of transit.
Not all of them have debit cards.
Thank you. A lot of the transit systems now, when you look at the bigger ones or even the smaller ones, are already starting to collect fares. We are slow in the uptake right now because we're still going through this transition, and some of our selling locations, such as the library and that, are just getting back online. But if needed be, come March, we could always, we don't have to turn the system back on immediately. We're just trying to find some light at the end of the tunnel and start some future planning.
Yeah, but I don't, excuse me if I may, Your Worship. Yep. I don't, you can still do your planning without the hard date in this motion. And this on the second point, or my first point, thank you for that explanation. That actually works for me. I appreciate that. That changes my mind.
Deputy Mayor Alcock.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to say I really support this motion. I agree with Councillor Withey, though. I don't know if it's necessary to have the hard date of March 1st. But I really think this is a good step forward. And I really like the point, though, that it's a way of collecting hard data on who our users are and if we're changing over time. So I think I'm really supportive of this motion.
Okay, I think it's a good plan as well. I don't like the small print that says it's also adding a $4,000 a year annual cost to operating the program. But I guess everything we do seems to cost us annually now. Councillor Armour.
Thank you, Worship. I support this 100%. I think we do need to have a hard date because people need to know when we're going to activate them. And I think giving people 3 months ahead, a notice ahead of time is better than all of a sudden trying to realize that the date's opened and people are going to tap their cards and they're not working. So I think a hard date's important.
Councillor Schumacher?
Yeah, I'm in favor of the date, as Councillor Armour said. I mean, again, and it's a system. People are used to loading their TIM card. People are used to, you know, going online and being able to access and do that. This is going to be the exact same thing.
Councillor Withey?
So we have a date in here. We vote to approve this date. What happens if we're in a countrywide complete lockdown? I guess what's the point of putting? I don't get the point of the date. You can set things up. 3 months is, you know, a month is plenty of time. I think we should eliminate the date and just and approve this motion without it.
Julia?
I was just gonna say that just as we have in over this year, just as things have changed, we've been bringing back recommendations, and I think we would do the same thing if there was a lockdown or a significant change, then we would probably come back and recommend changing that date. But I think it is important to have something that we're working towards so that we can plan for that with the March 31st date.
Okay, you all heard the resolution. All in favor? Opposed? That carries. Okay. Does anyone need a break, or are we still good to keep going? Good. Okay, we have a report from Greg Pilling on the Winter Snowfest and Light Festival event. Greg, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. This report follows, it's to formalize the request from the earlier deputation from the Winter Festival team that includes the Huntsville Lake Bay's Chamber of Commerce, the BIA, and the Huntsville Festival of the Arts to the town. As well, there was an update on the Toronto Maple Leafs alumni game that was part of the original motion back in February 2020. Unfortunately, that has been postponed due to the COVID pandemic. And then, as you've seen with the deputation, the Light Festival is looking to move forward. They would still, it would be operated by Kelly Haywood and the Chamber of Commerce. They'd be responsible for all aspects of the event, and then the town would create a memorandum of understanding with them, and they would go through the full seat application process to ensure compliance from all angles. Any questions?
Good. That was short. Questions? Councillor Armour.
Thank you, Worship. Greg, thanks. They talked about opening on weekends and not having town staff there. Is there an issue with liability if we don't have town staff there to monitor, or do we have some plan in place?
We don't, through you, Your Worship, we don't have a plan in place at this time. That's one of the details that just came to the table kind of late in the week last week, but it would be part of the formalizing the seat application and the MOU to ensure all of our, like I'd work with Rebecca on that to ensure all insurance and legal liabilities are in place for that. So we haven't got that far yet, but we'd be able to work through those details.
Other questions? I have one, Greg. If we were to approve everything asked for here, which is also a cash amount of 41.5, which includes staffing, and I think Kelly said earlier that the chamber would hire all staffing. If we're providing the funds to pay the staffing, even though they're not working for the town, I need to be sure there's no expectation that we will then supply additional staffing as well for different times of day or different pieces of the puzzle here. Is there any anticipation of requests for staffing above the plan that's before us?
At this time, there's been no other request. It would be fully staffed by Kelly's team, and we would be responsible for our assets as per normal. So our parks and our MHP as per normal when there's a renter on site, but no additional staffing requirements from the town.
Okay. Maybe Kelly, if you don't mind, I'll put the question more to you then. As far as some of the extra activities that you outlined in your report, such as snowshoeing or fat biking or cross-country skiing, there's no expectation. I know the town is going to provide plowing to plow the track for walking and plowing through the village for the light show, but there's no expectation of any additional town-provided staff work in this?
No, I think, you know, having Ron at MHP to be a resource to us as Greg Pilling, you know, obviously we'll be looking for some direction from time to time from municipal staff, as will be sort of a rental agreement. But no, I don't see any need for that. I mean, we'd welcome it, obviously, if there's the opportunity, but I think our plan has everything in place for that. Yeah, the only discussion about the weekend opening, and I think, you know, for the weekends when we have the light shows on in the evenings, that is part of the ask today. And then we definitely want to talk about the opportunity to open MHP every day throughout the day so people can enjoy, you know, the trails and the facility. But we'll iron that out after, but certainly not at an additional cost.
So if I could just push a little further on that, so then if there was some daytime opening, it would be non-staffed daytime opening.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Nope, don't see any. Okay, thanks, Kelly. Council, I have some an array of resolutions here, and before we see if anybody wants to move one, we have options that are outlined in the report where we don't support the event. We have options that we support the event from 1 to 8, which is all of the in-kind costs and the marketing costs that we've already committed to. And then we have an option for full support, which includes all of the in-kind, the marketing, and the cash contribution. So I will leave it to someone on council to move and second any of the options that we have before us.
Where are these can I see the options? Where are they?
Yes.
Under what tab?
They're on the what page? I don't know what page it is. It's 125 if your numbers are the same as mine. It's probably about the third page in the report, third or fourth. It says option 2, 3.
Okay, sorry. I was looking at, it said right at the beginning for information only. So
yeah,
I didn't know there was something we had to decide tonight.
Deputy Mayor Alcock.
I'd be happy to put forward the motion that we accept option 2, which is the town support the event, including all 9 requests from the Winter Festival team at a cost, and it's the whole cost. At least I put it on the table. I'm happy to put it on the table.
Is there a seconder for option 2? Councillor Thompson, are you seconding or yes?
Yes, indeed. I would be happy to second that.
I have a resolution moved by Councillor or Deputy Mayor Alcock, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Be it resolved that the town of Huntsville support the 2021 Winter Snowfest and Light Festival, including all 9 requests as outlined in Report CS 2020-17 at a cost of $88,156. 41,500 cash, 46,646 in kind, to be included in the 2021 draft budget. Questions? Comments? All in favor? Opposed? And that carries. We can scrap the other ones. Okay. Council. We're moving right along. We're at bylaws. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a resolution moved by Councillor Schumacher, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Be it resolved that bylaw numbers 2020-95, 2020-97, and 2020-98 be reported and read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 23rd day of November. Bylaw 2020-95, the acquisition of 37 Center Street North and 25 North Dufferin Street. 2020-97, Sandowski, 758 Canal Road rezoning. Bylaw 2020-98, Coker, 12 Riverhouse Lane rezoning. Questions? All in favor? And opposed? And that carries. I have a resolution moved by Councillor Schumacher and seconded by Councillor Thompson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2020-96 be reported and read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 23rd day of November 2020. Cheyenne Homes Limited, 683 Griffin Lodge road closing, and Deputy Mayor Alcock has declared a conflict on this. All in favor? Opposed? And that carries. Sorry, some of these, some hands are going up slowly, so that's why I keep saying opposed. Okay, that's bylaws. So we now have a Chafee Hall verbal update. I'll read the resolution first, moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Withey. Whereas in December of 2019, the town of Huntsville was notified by the Huntsville Lions Club of their interest in selling Chafee Hall. And whereas council then advised that they would be exercising their first right of refusal to reconvey ownership of the lands located at 20 Chafee Township Road. And whereas staff has now been advised that the Huntsville Lions Club is no longer looking to sell the said lands, therefore be it resolved that resolution 5820 be rescinded. CAO Corey, do you want to speak to this?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think the resolution is fairly self-explanatory, just the fact that in February, the Lions had explained that they would like to proceed with disposing of Chafee Hall. And as per our letter of intent with the organization, we did have the first right of refusal. So they weren't able to meet, obviously due to COVID, and they just most recently were able to reconvene and passed a motion amongst the group saying that they had changed their mind and that they would like to stay at the Chafee Hall. So in order to clear the resolution off the books, we would have to pass the resolution this evening.
Questions? Councillor Withey?
This report confused me a little because having been on council in between 2010 and 2014, when we dealt with the deal with the Lions Club, I mean, I'm surprised they, from what I recall, thought that they could dispose of the building. I'm grateful that they alerted us to this, but I thought it was always if they wanted out, or it always reverted back to us. But anyway, I'm not surprised that they immediately backed off. But I didn't think it was set up to work that way anyway. That's my memory, and these days it's not very reliable.
Okay. I've read the resolution. All in favor? And that carries. I have a resolution moved by Councillor Alcock, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that staff be directed to purchase Town of Huntsville masks for sale to the public. And further that $2 from the sale of each mask be donated to a charity supporting mental health. And this is a result of our first guest tonight. So are there any questions or comments on this resolution? Councillor Armour.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Just more, I'm just curious, what does it cost per mask and what would we be selling them at for?
CAO?
Thank you, Your Worship. So the cost of the mask is just under $6. We're proposing to sell the mask for approximately 10. We are trying to factor in the costs that would be associated with staff having to sell the mask at the counter, process the payment, because the municipality really shouldn't be charging any more than the actual cost of the service or product. So we were factoring in costs with respect to the services that would be associated with the sale of the mask. So we would be looking at a $10 sale. Our cost is just a little bit below $6. So one could say that there was $4 that could be donated to a charity of choice. And we would just take the staff resource time as a loss just from the time of processing the transaction. So we probably would be looking at $3 to $4 per mask that could go to a charity if council so chose.
Councillor Schumacher.
And are the masks the 3-ply masks that Dr. Tam is recommending?
Through Your Worship, the masks are exactly the same as the ones that we ordered for staff. And as I'm feeling the product, they do appear to be a 3-ply mask. I feel 3 levels of material in the mask. So yes, I would say the answer is yes.
I get lots of, I wear mine proudly, and I get a lot of feedback how much people do enjoy them.
I'm asked at least 3 times a week where people can buy them. So now we can put on our social media site, they're coming soon to a municipal office near you. So they can buy them for roughly $10. We'll figure that out.
Councillor Withey?
So, you know what, I'm sorry, I sort of had my question answered. I might just add that I've never seen mine since my 15-year-old daughter stole it as it was gaming down. So I better get out and buy one.
Okay, all in favor of the resolution? That carries. Have a resolution moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Armour. Be it resolved that council approves the following amendment to the Huntsville Public Library Board for the 2018-2022 term of council. Resolution number 14-19, the deletion of Brian Samuel. Questions? All in favor? And that carries. And that brings us to council correspondence, which is in your package, and then to the District of Muskoka updates. And let's see. First up is Community and Planning Services, Deputy Mayor Alcock.
Thank you. I know everyone's tired, so I really promised to be brief. There were 2 meetings on November 20th, and the first one was a special joint meeting between Engineering and Public Works and Community and Planning Services. And it was to consider one item only, and that was the potential for private, communal, and other servicing options in relation to Muskoka Official Plan Amendment number 49, which is related to the development in the village of Manette in the township of Muskoka Lakes. There was a fairly lengthy discussion around that, you know, whether private communal services could support both residential and commercial and on the waterfront versus creating brand new municipal servicing in a place like Manette. So obviously lengthy discussion. And the outcome of the meeting was staff will have further discussions with township staff, council, and with the developer regarding the proposal and trying to come to some accommodation. We'll see what happens. And Councillor Thompson can add to that if I've missed anything. So that was the first meeting. And the second meeting, the regular CAPS meeting, there were a number of items, but I will mention 3 that I thought were really important, and that was, you may recall at the last district council meeting, we declared a climate change emergency, but we didn't have a full resolution that had been suggested by the Climate Action Muskoka. That was sent back to our committee, and our staff put together their final report for the district's position, and it's called A New Leaf, Muskoka's Climate Strategy. It's an incredible report. There's so much information in there, and it kind of deja vu a little bit to 2010 and Town of Huntsville's Unity Plan and all of the work that went into that. A lot of collaboration. And so, I'm not going to go into it other than it's online, and at some point they will be making a presentation to all of the councils. So we also had an update, an annual report on the district's housing and homelessness 10-year plan. And again, really fascinating, a lot of stuff in there. There's a presentation. I would go online, look at it. Of some things of note, those district expenditure.
Oh, shit.
Wow. What do we do? Who? Crystal, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you,
Crystal?
Karen. I can hear you, Karen.
I can still see John.
I can hear you.
Around.
I can see Jonathan and hear Jonathan.
Did I sign out?
Oh,
Does
Steve,
everybody have power?
Steve just lost his power too.
We're out of power here at the Summit Center.
Yeah, Steve lost power. It is really dark in here.
It is really dark in here.
Okay, wow.
So Karen, I can see you and I can hear Denise.
Yeah, I have.
Lauren, can you hear me? Lauren?
Yeah, I can hear you, Mayor Karen. You're still live.
Lauren, can you hear me?
Yes.
Lauren's the host
Just
now.
when everyone's lost power.
She doesn't seem to be hearing me.
Yeah, Karen, Lauren can hear you. Can you hear me? No, I'll run into the council chambers. Oh, and Nancy's back.
I heard Lauren too.
Yes, I can still hear you guys. You're still live.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. We're still live.
Hey, it's Nancy here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. We're just going to go to a quick break. I'm going to share my screen. And when we will notify you when we're getting everything up and running, okay?
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you.
Kirsten, are you on?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but Kirsten?
Yep.
It's Karen. Can you call me on my cell?
Yes, I will.
Thanks. Colleen McDonald says it's a main supply line, so we may not get.
Can you see me?
I can see you, Bob, just barely. I can see you. Oh, there.
I'm using my phone's hotspot.
Perfect.
Hi, everybody. So just so you know, we are still live. So we're just waiting for people to come back in. We have had some power outages, but just to let everyone know, we are still live.
Okay, council, we are still live. We are just determining whether or not we need to call this and resume it after general committee on Wednesday morning.
Hello, everyone. Due to the ongoing power outages and with the permission of the chair, we are looking at calling this meeting and moving any additional items to a special council meeting following our special general committee meeting on December 10th.
No. Crystal, we'll call a special council meeting following general Wednesday morning.
Oh, this Wednesday. Yes. Okay. Sorry.
We'll just finish up this council meeting Wednesday morning after general.
Okay. So that'll be on November 25th.
Yeah.
And I know you were anticipating that being like a good chunk of the day. I do have it like at 3 o'clock on that Wednesday. Is that going to be a problem?
No. Well, it's this Wednesday.
Yes. Okay.
It won't be long.
Okay.
Do we need to read a resolution to end it?
No, you don't have quorum anymore.
Okay. Crystal, now you can call the meeting.
Bob, you look like you're in a horror film.
I know. Well, I'm using the hotspot on my phone, It's classic dichotomy, isn't it? Jeez.